We're in Tomarang today, which is what my mum says when she misses my phone calls. And I'm calling this house the Wave, like the ocean, not like the hand gesture. I think a hand would be a hard shape to build. We're going to create something clean and sleek and submerge it in a pond with underwater views because, you know, what's more motivating than the fear of a flood while you're fast asleep? But if you enjoy creative building and eloquent, coherent and well-informed commentary, you are in the wrong place. But the ship's already left the dock, so you might as well just subscribe as a joke. So this is the ocean view lot that we're going to build on with my trusty mannequin for scale. I'm going to start with some walls. Just going to be a box build, to be honest. This one's just a box. It's a very well decorated box, but it's still a box. And it's actually quite small. It's just small and about 3 times the size of the interior because we're going to add a load of all sorts of nonsense to this build that was completely unnecessary and no one asked for. But that's what I do on this channel, so prepare. So the first weird thing that we're going to add is going to be this roof. We're going to use a curved one, and I'm already unlocking that extra, you know, capabilities shortcut, whatever it is, Control F, Control C, I don't remember what the shortcut is. Gives you a few more nodes to play with for curves. And I'm going to try and link up 2 roofs to create this really large, like, wave arch thing. And this was a little bit fiddly. I had to do a little bit of adjusting, and there's still a very slight dint in this that I know it's there. You know, it's not super obvious, but it's just doing me no end of annoyance because it's still there. But I did an okay job at, but it's still there though. It's annoying me. Anyway, we're going to use some arches here to get rid of this wall because the Sims still will not allow us to just delete this wall below a roof. Like, why? Let me do it. So I'm sizing those down, and then I'm just going to leave them there on a very small scale for a little while because I wasn't quite sure if I would need to edit this wall again. But later in the build, I'm going to use the tool mod just to like make them invisible, basically. I'm going to extend this awning to the front to make this really nice sort of flowing curve. I don't know why I chose to do a wave build, it's just something that came to me. And we're sort of in that fairy magical princess expansion pack waiting room right now, aren't we? So I needed to find something else to build before I go and live my fairy fantasy. I did a few steps down here, and I'm going to make a platform. I'm going to tear it down, and it took me a little while to figure out at what level I needed it to be because the stairs aren't the, you know, there was a certain elevation where they would work and the rest of them they didn't. But I found out what that was, fixed it, and I'm going to drag that across. Are we going to do that? No, I'm just farting around with stairs to figure out which one I like best first. And now we're going to drag it all across and repeat, and then get rid of this middle bit because I think we're going to sort of tear that up in a little bit. You know, we're not even 5 minutes in and we're already at that point where I don't know what's going on in my own build, so today's going to be a great one. I'm just kind of doing a few adjustments here, nudging these stairs back. They're a bit too close to the road, so they needed an adjustment. And I'm going to do mostly wood in this build, and I'm going to put these windows here. They're not going to stay, because we're going to use the new glass wall swatches in a little bit. This was just sort of to mark where I wanted them to go. And we're now going to begin that portion of the video where I use the same item over and over and over again. That nobody asked for, but a few of you are here solely for that now, because you find it therapeutic. I'm going to show you like what I'm placing, and it's that cottage cheese living roof beam thing. Little cut here. This is the shape I have, and we're going to do a lot with this shape, and it's going to be a lot with using the tool mod. So if you don't know, many people do know, it's a very common mod. But the tool mod allows you to sort of nudge things up and down on an XYZ axis, rotate things, size things up, just in smaller increments than the game actually allows you if you're just going to use the in-game hotkeys. So that's how I'm going to make this nice little like wave curve with this that sort of matches the roof in a nice little double wave shape. So here I've just sped up. This is at like 2000% right now. This took me so long, but I just wanted to keep this in and show you because I think it's quite satisfying watching this back in full speed. But this took a little bit of adjusting. I'm putting in all sorts of different numbers of elevation to get this wave I want. And there were some moments where I was just sat staring at my PC, like trying to problem solve and figure out what are the maths here? Like, how am I going to actually make this curve? What numbers do I need to put in? So there were a couple of areas where I went back and then had to sort of redo little bits. And this thing at the back here didn't go low enough, so I almost had to like repeat what I'd done the first time to get this a bit lower. It's not bad. There weren't any giant like hiccups. I thought there might be because there's so many pieces, but it did turn out alright in the end. So this bit, I'm just sort of raising a curve here. I'm just doing all of these micro adjustments to get an end shape that flows quite nicely. And I wish I could explain to you more how I did this bit, but it's really just putting numbers in a toolbox. So here's it done, and I've added this little piece to the front as well that curves down beyond the stairs. And when I was making this, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what this actually is. Is it a staircase? Is it just like a feature? I think it's just more of a feature. It's sort of, it looks a bit like me if I was a xylophone. It's just a bit like, you know, it's functional. It's just a bit up and down and all over the place, and you can tell that like something's wrong with it, but it's all right. So I just wanted to add some walls here, you know, so you don't fall through if you're walking on this platform ahead of it. And then I'm going to add some columns, and I did try with some of the normal columns to begin with, but I was finding them quite thick, and it was making the build look a lot smaller than I wanted it to be. I wanted it to look quite sleek. So in looking for columns, I found this businesses and hobbies fence that we're going to put in now, and I'm making sort of a custom fence here by again using that cottage cheese living beam at the bottom of it to just like create something a little bit different. I just like doing things that look a bit different to the normal base game objects to, you know, just customize a build a little bit, make it a little bit more stylish. So we're going to add those to the other side. By the way, I did intend for this build to come out a day earlier, but I've had quite a busy week. Had to go and view some houses, and that was really taking the energy out of me. So I'm forcing myself to do this voiceover today. I would really just like to be in bed. But I wanted to get this one out so I can prepare for when the expansion releases in a couple days. So this build is probably like 80% this roof beam. There's probably more of this roof beam than anything else in this whole build. I really have made friends with this item. But here's the businesses and hobbies live edit pole that I'm going to use to create these columns. I just wanted them being this narrow, it made the build look bigger, whereas the thicker ones were really shrinking it down. So we don't want a small shrunken build. We want one that looks big. That's what she said. No. This is really a build where I'm just, if The Sims was a Lego set, this is that build. That is I'm getting all the little pieces out, putting them together how I want them to be, and ignoring every single way that The Sims wants me to build a house. So or it's like what's that other one? Connects. Do you remember Connects? I had a Connects set that my mum got me, and I used to only use it to make I used to get out two pieces. I used to get this little circle piece out on one of the long sticks, and then I would put the little circle piece on the long stick, and then that was it. I was done with the Connects because I just wanted to make a fairy wand. So maybe this fairy expansion is actually for me all along that's coming out, and I just didn't know it. Anyway, we're going to sink the terrain here and start working on our little sunken pond area. I didn't originally plan to put this in a pond, but then I had an idea with the glass that we'll do later on that I said I was going to use for an aquarium. But first I've added a few plants and some ledges under these. What am I calling these? They're just like wings, I guess. And we're going to fence these steps in a little bit so you don't fall, you know, trip, sprain your ankle, bang your head on these wooden cottage living cheese, whatever they are. So I'm going to create a little tiered section here with a garden at the front. It's not going to be the like wildest garden. It's just going to be a pretty basic one. I wanted to keep this all looking quite neat. I'm normally doing a lot of like wildflower stuff, but this one I wanted to be quite geometric and sleek and pristine. It's very much more show homey than I normally build, but I just felt like, you know, doing something like that for a change. We're going to fence this in at the back using, again, that Businesses and Hobbies live edit one. And then this piece here is a piece of CC, but it's not going to stay in the game. I just hadn't decided at this point that I wasn't going to use CC in this build. But I think this is the only piece that I even thought about using, which is why I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to use any. And I wanted to make a bit of a feature here using these wooden slats, which is another one of my go-to items that I like to place over and over and over again, just to create some support for these sort of staircase wing xylophone things. And we're going to use the tool mod again, just to lower these into the ground. I don't believe you need to have tool mod to download a build that's used tool mod. Am I wrong? That's not, I don't know, I haven't really uploaded many things to the gallery before. But I think you don't need it. I think you just need to have move objects on selected, and then it's all fine. But we're going to add some to the back here. I obviously repeat this on the other side as well. It's not just all on one side. But again, I kept this bit in because I want to show you a little bit of like tool mod usage. A lot of people don't really include that in their videos, where I quite like watching it. I like watching the sort of the complexity of builds, the nerdy part of building, which is not very cute but is interesting. I like to see how people do things. So this is you know, really just showing you how I place all of these items exactly where I want them to be. And we're even going to rotate these just a little bit because I wanted it to look even more customized. So just, yeah, rotating those on both sides. And then I was going to use a fence at the back here, but I ended up again just using these wooden slats and sinking those into the ground. There is a way I think I could have done this without using tool mod. If I'd created a room and lowered it into the ground, it would have just been really complicated though, so it's easy to just use tool mod. But there is a way that you can look like your slats have been lowered into the ground by sinking them with a wall first. But yeah, that's another thing entirely that I'm not doing in this build, so I don't really know why I brought it up in the first place. But we're just going to finish off this wave here and make sure it touches the ground at the back. Adding in some more of these beams, what a surprise. And again, tool mod, just to nudge those into a smaller increment because the game doesn't let you. And then again, just a little bit trial and error with the tool mod to see how I get these to curve, and I think it took me about 3 attempts to get this one right. My brain at this point I think was a little bit tired, and I was not planning particularly well. But I think this one, yeah, this is the one where we're going to sort of end up with more of a curve rather than a straight line. And then I just needed to add one more beam at the bottom here just to finish this off, and then nudge the second to lowest step up a little bit, and then it was good. I was happy with it then. So I wanted to add just a little bit of support to this roof here because it was looking a little bit like it was breaking physics. And now we're going to move on to the windows. So I've got the glass wall swatches, which I'm so happy they added that to the game. And I very briefly got out a CC window before replacing it with a non-CC window. But I like that you can do something custom. I'm liking how the glass looks on this. It's just a very custom window. If you use the glass and then you use windows with the glass, you can make some really unique like window shapes. So I'm sure I'll be playing around with that as I learn more of little things I can do with these new glass swatches, which I'm still so happy they added to the game. Like these are amazing. I'm probably going to use these in like every build, find some way to use them. So I'm just going to again use this little, I'm not sure what this is, just some kind of post. Maybe it's the end of a fence or something. But again, using it as just some edging on the windows here to customize them a little bit more. And then I'm going to copy the roof and make another little wave here. I was just really looking at making something that had like really nice form and shape, and was just really satisfying to the eye to look at in this build. So yeah, adding this little grass area here, which we are then going to use later on to add some of the new. Well, they're not new, but you can place the old plants on the roof. So we're gonna do a bit of that after I've made this initial sort of entryway. So I added some windows, and then I'm gonna just place a glass door here. I did want to originally use a black one, but then I thought this white one actually looked fairly decent, so I kept that in. And yes, now we're gonna go on to placing some of these foliage pieces on the roof. And move objects is on while I'm doing this. However, you can see that it doesn't let you place. It is not letting me place near the top. For some reason, those larger pieces, even though move objects is on. So I don't know if that's just a little bit of a bug or something that needs ironing out. Hopefully they sort of give you a bit more control over placing things on the roof so you can fill the whole area. But Then these small square sort of grass tile items, you can just place those pretty much wherever on the roof. So I sort of linked the two areas with these. I did ideally want all of the foliage to go like all the way across, but it wasn't going to let me do that for some reason. But that's fine, found a workaround. And now I'm going to take all of these arches and size them down like I said I would a little bit ago. Fill in this front area with a few of these grass swatches too, and then place some windows here at the back, which is where I'm going to do a kitchen later on, so we're not going to have a full length window there. Again, with these little pillar things, just to edge all of these windows. I just liked that little bit of detail, make it all look a little bit more custom. Do it below as well. And I will decorate all of this underwater area so it makes a nice little view. So here we go, yeah, I've already got got all of the things out. I spent so much time on this. I just really wanted this one view, this like camera angle through the window just to look like really amazing. So I've almost done this like an aquascape in an aquarium or something. I've put some fish, which are gonna be showing through the window, some rocks, tiered it all down just to make this really nice sort of aquascaping view through the window. And it's just a combination of grasses and various other plants that looked like they could feasibly be underwater plants. And then I'm even going to do a little bit of terrain editing just to create that realism of like some soil and a mixture of sand and, you know, all of the stuff that you find at the bottom of water. It's not all pristine gravel. Logically, this glass is probably going to get covered in algae, so it's probably not the most logistical thing that you would want in a house. Also, if it rained and the level rose, or if it was dry and the level then lowered in the lake, you're going to see all this like grime on the window. So yeah, it'd probably be quite a lot of effort to keep this clean, but it's The Sims, so we don't care about that, do we? So I'm just going to move on to this other window where I thought I'd make a similar but slightly different view through that one, and because these are going to be two different rooms down here with two different views out into this pond area. But pretty much using the same thing. So I just wanted to, you know what? I just want an aquarium building game and I don't have one, so I figured out a way to do it in this one. Again, a little bit of this gravel mixture, some soil, etc, etc. I would just spent too long trying to make this look realistic. And then pen this in. What am I talking about? Frame this in. Again with these roof beams. Once again, not using them as a roof beam. I never use these as a roof beam, but they are one of my favourite items. And then just gonna again use this, what is this? It's like a bush? Some kind of bush? It's got a weird name. I don't know what plant this is, but I just like the shape of it, and it's very good for just filling in vast areas of foliage. And I didn't want to spend too long doing the foliage in this build because I'd already spent like 10,000 years making all of these custom shapes for the architecture. So, you know, I have to pick and choose what I'm going to spend my time on because I can't do everything. Otherwise, it'd be like one build a month or something. So yeah, just finishing this off, adding some soil, and we're going to go around the lake just to make it look a bit more natural by adding a little bit of dirt around the sides of it. Or maybe we're not doing that yet and we're going to continue with the plants, but I will do that in a moment. But yeah, I'm only using these two different items, one that's like a bush and one that's some grass. And here we are, here's the dirt. I was just a little bit ahead of myself. And I wasn't quite sure what to do at the front here, but I ended up using some sand. And originally it was a floor tile, but then I thought it would look a bit more natural if I sort of painted it and made it look a bit more like it was fading away and mixing with the grass. And, you know, ideally, if I could have extended this lot back, I would have blended it in somehow with, like, the beach and maybe made a pathway that links to the beach. But alas, you know, cannot do that. So you're just going to have to pretend that's there. So now we're going to go inside. How many minutes in? Like 20 minutes in? And we're going to start with a staircase. I'm still not good at arranging these staircases when I'm, like, trying to make a curved one. But I thought about doing it at the back to begin with. I wasn't quite sure how to do the layout because this interior is quite small and I wanted to fit, you know, like a decent amount of stuff in here. So we ended up doing it at the front here to keep the upstairs area more open and free to place a kitchen at the back. So I've just done a little bit of a more sort of customized staircase thing here. I wanted to use the glass wall swatches to sort of fence this in and make it look a little bit like one of those floating wooden staircases. And I think it kind of looked sort of like what I wanted it to. I wasn't quite sure what to do with the materials here, so I'm sort of figuring that out as we do the staircase, which is why I'm getting a few different things out, some woods and some stones. And I sort of ended up splitting the palette here into sort of a light concrete, some dark stone, and then this sort of very warm tone wood that we've used in the exterior as well. It's almost like, is it like a bamboo tone, kind of? And then upstairs, first of all, I had to fix this this window that had nudged away because of the staircase. We're going to have the upstairs a bit lighter, but still mixing in these sort of black edges that we've done for the rest of the build. So I'm going to pen this fence in with a glass fence here. And again, because I cannot just leave things the way they are, I'm customizing this again with the roof beams. And then I'm going to customize it a little bit more with these pillars that we've got as well. I just wanted things to look, I just like things, I like knowing that I've built something that probably isn't going to be in other people's builds. I guess. Is that narcissism? I don't know. Anyway, onto the kitchen, and I'm using this. This one's from one of those kitchen packs, but I don't remember the name of it because I never remember the name of anything. So you'll just have to, you know, it's that one, yeah. And using this one, annoyingly, the fridge from this pack, although it comes in a lot of swatches, doesn't match any of the cabinets. So that's rather annoying, a bit of an oversight. I don't know why they've done that. But I had to add the roof again because it was just looking a bit jank. I've obviously added a very small archway here. There's just a bit of as a build feature to make it more interesting on the inside. Some saucer lights and shift click on a light and you can change the the intensity of it and the color. I think some people aren't quite sure how to do that. You just shift click on it. And then we're going to do a dining room. And I wanted to get some color in this build because it was all quite black and beige. So I did it with just a little bit of yellow. I don't like the really bright colors. I like more of the pastel sort of subdued tones, a little bit more subtle when it comes to color. So I'm also going to add a little bit of color with clutter as well. I've made these plants being green plant pots. So I can leave the rest of the build quite neutral, sort of natural toned, and then just add a few pops of color where I want it. This modular dream home decorator, that's the one, of the sofa here. I'm going to add a TV, and I used this partition here because I hate seeing the back of a TV, but the layout wasn't going to let me put it against the wall, so I just sort of made my own wall. And then I just wanted to have this little bit of a like reading nook or something above the stairs, just like I like making little small optional cozy areas in builds and things. So what we're going to do now, is the upstairs kind of done? Yeah, so we're going to move down and I'm going to make this little corner here a bathroom. And then we're just going to split the room in two. I wasn't quite sure what to do down here. But the vibe downstairs is going to be a lot more almost masculine compared to the upstairs, because I wanted it to be a lot darker because obviously we're underground, we're underwater here, so I didn't want it to be all bright. I wanted it to sort of match that underwater darker aesthetic so that the windows really pop when you're looking through the windows into the water outside. So I've kept the wood to a minimum, and we've gone more with this like darker stone and the black glass. So I did originally put some curtains here on this divide. They are going to swap to some blinds a little bit later on because I had an idea that worked better. So I have lit the bathroom up, and we're just going to make a bathroom here. I've gone with blues. I've also made one of the lights have a slight blue tint to it to really go with that. I wanted it to feel a little bit underwatery, obviously because we've got the underwater viewing area. So it's not the most complex bathroom, but I have used these faux walls, which were again another favourite piece, and I didn't realise it came in a nice blue, but then it matched the wall, so that was a nice find. And that's the bathroom done. Gone fairly simple. And here are the blinds that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna size them down. And the great thing about these glass wall swatches is that I don't know if you find sometimes you're trying to place a curtain or a blind or any kind of that item type, and it starts snapping to windows and you don't want it to. Whereas a see-through wall is not a window, so it actually lets you have so much more control over where you want the curtains or blinds to be. So again, another great reason to use these glass walls instead of a window or a combination of them to have more control over where you want to put the curtains. So this room that's directly below under the staircase, I decided I would make a gym because I just feel like if I was in a gym and there was a view out the window into a pond, I would find that really motivating and it would get me to work out really hard. And that's basically why I thought this would be a good idea. So I've gone again with more blues. This one's going to be the bluest room, and just sort of like it's not the most hardcore gym area. It's very much more of a home gym. There's a treadmill and a few weights and things, and a little area to do a workout. But I would very much enjoy doing one of my home workouts in this room. I would get distracted looking out the window, but sometimes that's good because you're thinking less about the workout and that if you don't want to be there doing it, if you have something else to look at, that's what my thought process was. A little bit of aquatic distraction while you're sweating and don't want to be there and hating the moment and just waiting for your workout to be over. Tried a few different blind colours, but just kept the darker one that we had already. And now we're going to move into the bedroom, which is going to be the last room. And I found this wall shelf thing, which I genuinely did not know existed, so that was another nice find. I'm finding more things now I'm not using CC, which are in the game, which, you know, normally I kind of hate a lot of the items, but this one I was like, oh, you know what, I like this one. The swatches are the issue. Finding swatches that match is still, it's just a chore. But yes, a little desk here to do some creative work so you can look out the window. Thought that would be a nice touch. And I'm going to clutter all this sort of off camera as I normally do, and then we'll come in and we'll have a little look through. So here's the finished result. And on the outside, it's just very sleek and geometric, and it's just far too full of itself, isn't it, really? Well, I just wanted to do something a bit very sleek and pristine before we go fully into the whole like nature expansion. So I added a few, just some very basic chairs outside just to finish it off. There's some lights on the walls and things. But here we go inside. There's a few more pieces of clutter that I've added here, but not too much. The pictures on the walls are not CC. They are no CC paintings from the gallery. So yeah, I know you've probably not seen them before, but that's what those are. I've added another little divider next to this reading nook because I liked how that looked. And here's the downstairs. I just added a few plants and books and things. I've not done a whole lot with this build. It was more me just trying to see what I could make for the exterior. But I do like this view here. You can see there's the fish in the windows, although that one looks like it's going to collide. Well, there we go. It just vanished. All right. Physics. Biology. And turn around. Here's this little seating area. And then here's the bedroom, which came out quite nice. I wasn't quite sure on the colour palette for this one, but it did come out quite nice. But I will say right now, thank you for watching, be kind to yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.